Please first.
Try once more.
Okay. I don't know, is it coming through? Okay. Yesterday we were briefly talking about parami, and I think I had probably not thought about it much, and maybe even not understood that the parami, along with, like panya, they're not the same as panya, but they develop little by little by little. Is that correct? Can you say something about that?
What is parami?
Pardon?
What is parami?
Parami is perfections, but that I think means qualities or dhammas that are developed over time, again, as with increasing panya. That's all I can say right now. I know there are several. Anything I tell you now will be book knowledge. But they're kusala qualities. Kusala qualities, some of them several jetasikas together, like for instance patience. No, kanti, which would be virya, jetasika, and I know it's virya, but what else? Doesn't matter, okay.
But I think it's just important that they are dhammas. That was your first answer.
Yes.
Paramis are particular dhammas that help, that are required to be developed in order to reach the other, that leads you to the other shore.
That's right, yes.
Right, to enlightenment.
Yes. And again, that they are developed little by little.
Yes, they can only be developed with panya.
With panya, right. Again, little by little. I'm not sure how.
I mean,
thought about that
they are
before,
support for panya, and they require panya to be developed.
Right.
They are just dhamma, those particular dhammas that help, that support panya, that panya requires during its development.
Okay, and at right, and they develop, as you say, with panya. Without panya, they're just kusala moments. But with panya, they're a support for panya, and vice versa.
Because without panya, these kusala qualities are liable to be taken for self.
Right, they're not known.
Therefore, they can't be parami.
Yes.
Only when it's supported by panya is there understanding them for what they are, can they support the path leading to the understanding of no self.
Okay, thank you.
So it's this moment parami.
It could be, if there is panya, if there is sufficient panya to know kanti or something else as a dhamma, as no self.
Or even now, I mean, if there's any level of understanding, the paramis are being developed too.
I'm sorry, if there's any...
The paramis are being developed too.
Okay.
Because with even a moment of intellectual understanding, there are other kusala.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Can there be other answer for what is parami?
What was the question again?
Another answer. I gave one answer. Is there any other answer for what is parami? Do you know?
I'd like to hear from you, Ajarn. I'd like to hear from you, Ajarn.
No, Ajarn wants us to think about it. Anyone?
Well, I think Kunsikan has said some useful things. I think mostly important, we talk about parami, that they are accompanied by panya as well. That makes them parami, as Kunsikan said, that If they're just kusala, well, they won't be parami.
That's right.
So, but they'll be kusala, and that's always valuable. And I'm wondering what else I can add to that. I would probably say that I think it's really important to always reflect on them too, when and where possible. And any moment is always valuable condition for parami, which rather than thinking of kusala, the more we can, the more understanding there will be, or the more understanding that there is, the more conditions for parami to develop and get stronger. And beyond that, and of course it means the highest parami comes from, we have the English word paramount, the very highest. I know there are 3 different levels. The Buddha developed the very highest, the 3rd level, but arahatas have to develop at least the lowest level, and some of the mahasawakas perhaps get, like Sariputta, get the 2nd level, but the Buddha was amazing in his development of the parami to sublime levels that had to be done for samma sambuddho to be attained. But
I'm thinking though that they would have to be developed for each stage of understanding. And by that I'm talking about, I started out by thinking about for the Sotapatimagga Citta, there would be a level of perfections that would be developed along with Panya for that to occur. Is that correct?
If there is no understanding of Dhamma, reality at all, can there be parami?
No.
So what is parami?
Parami is right understanding of Dhammas.
And what else? When there is right understanding, just this, or it's not enough?
No, I think it's not, I'm going to say it's not enough because there are other qualities that are being developed as well. The kanti, samaditi, I can't remember them all, and as I said, that would be book knowledge.
Parami without understanding the point of understanding? So the point of understanding is that now it appears Dhamma,
Yes.
but no, not understanding, not enough understanding to really penetrate the truth or the nature of it as not self. That's why no one can do anything, but right understanding will lead to have more kusla instead of akusla in order to condition the panya to understand better and better, not just only kusla.
I think you can see that coming to listen and discuss, sometimes it requires patience to listen carefully. So you can see at that time that patience is working as a support.
That's my description.
and I think also what's vital is good friendship in the development of the parami, having the right friendship and seeing the value in that, cultivating those connections with wise people, which are of such a valuable support for all levels of kusala and also development of parami. I don't think that can ever be underestimated. And we know that in the case of Ananda and the Buddha, really stress that fact that companionship with the wise is the vital ingredient for all levels of kusala and of course the parami.
Just now Anne was talking about the different levels of parami, as in of the Sotapanna and upwards. But it would seem to me that without Barami, even now, Panya cannot
But
grow.
you see, it's not just intention to have parami.
Oh yes, no.
But to understand it without parami, what and how can this moment appear as it is, as yourself? Everyone knows that there's no one at all, because that which appears is just that which can appear to seeing only. See, it's so hard to understand this and to understand the nature of it, which arises and falls away instantly all the time. But that's the truth of everything. But Panya is not enough to understand that. So what can condition Panya to lead to the understanding of the nature of reality now, which one knows from understanding theoretically? It's not self, because it's the element which arises just to see, and it arises and falls away. So how can it belong to anyone who can have that as I or me at all? By understanding this, but it's still there. I see, I hear all the time. 3 moments after seeing, it's there. Asava, no matter it's hearing or seeing or what. So it's so hard to get that understanding, not without I at all, not without wrong understanding I can do, but to develop Panya little by little to understand that all are Dhamma, Anatta, no one can do anything, no one can control, because actually it's no one. It's conditioned, arising and falling all the way, in flux, from life to life, that's all. But even hearing this so many times, that is not enough. That's why parami is needed to arise to be kusala, no matter with panya or not without panya, because it's not time for akusala. If kusala does not arise, it's time for akusala to add more and more akusala. That is more difficult to understand this as not self. That's why it takes quite a long time. And by understanding that no one can do anything because there is no one, only conditions from moment of understanding from this level to higher level to higher level. So it takes so much patience, not just in one's life at all, to understand it as it is. But by understanding this, from understanding this, it conditions moment to be kusala rather than moment of akusala. So all kusala, which is conditioned or motivated by panya, is parami, just to that point. That's why there can be dana anytime, to learn to let go that which one clings to, and what one clings most is the self, the idea of I. So before there can be such moment which is strong enough to letting go the idea of self, what about letting go something, little by little, to be able to be detached from that which one clings so much as self or I.
So, Ajarn, what you're saying is that there is Barami, and there's also Barami of Barami, because better kusla than akusla.
Parami is kusla.
So better kusla than akusla. So even when there is
But
no panya, at least it's not more ignorance being.
because what for? Just be good. For I.
So it is a barami of barami also only for people who have some understanding.
Right. Not everyone. So is now Barami.
Just a moment ago, Ajarn, you said, be good for I. Just what did you, can you talk a little bit more about that? Be good for I. What did you mean by that?
I am good. It's me who is good.
Not good.
So in that case, even for someone for whom the kusala arises a lot, it's useless if all those kusala are taken for my kusala.
So there must be some understanding
Must be.
to start,
Mhm.
and then it can build. Panya builds supported by paramis, and and Panya is a support for the paramis.
To be
paramis
one's
themselves.
nature.
To be one's nature.
Mhm.
Okay.
Actually, everything has to be to be one's nature.
Right.
Otherwise, it's self again. Hmm.
I'm thinking of you, Kunswati. How is it listening to some of these words for you? I can imagine it's not always easy. So is there any word there that perhaps you'd like to talk about? We talk.
Trying to understand
Yes, yeah.
within what context.
You can try to explain.
Well, no, I was thinking when we were talking about kusala, and do you know a little bit about kusala?
Probably not much.
Was kusala, that which is skillful in
Yeah.
the true sense of the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, not what we think of as. A lot of people might hear the word skillful, but it has to be understood in the context of panya, what is truly useful, because a lot of the time, a lot of what we think is good may not be so. So it's always helpful to have a clear understanding and a better understanding of what is truly good. And this is why we come and see, speak with Ajarn and others and get support to help us to appreciate that, because it's not an easy area. I notice a lot out. I listen to all sorts of different things sometimes and speak to different people, and some people do a lot of what may be called meditation, but I've learned mostly it's nothing to do with being good. We think it's being good, but some people may think it's being good, but it's really just accumulating more attachment, which is not always easy to see. And this is why we need good friends and a good teacher to help us with that. Anyway, I was just thinking, I was sympathetic with you, thinking I'm...
No, actually,
So,
I have heard quite a few of your discussions
good.
because when I was with Paina in Texas,
I
I used to play them for her when she was getting her chemo. I used to sit with her and play some of the recordings. So I might not be understanding the deeper meanings of it, but yes, it has fallen on my ears.
So, what's the best thing in your life?
Paina.
Why you call best?
I think I understood the life and architecture much
From her?
from her
I see.
rather than
So,
learning from...
she's your best,
She is.
not the understanding.
Right.
So, what's the best for you, understanding or Paina?
Both.
And now, is that Paina? Really? So, what is that which is seen now?
Oh.
This is true. It's so true. The truth is that which is seen. It's now. So, what is it?
Truth which I see now.
We are going to learn about the truth, the absolute truth.
Oh.
Not just for you, for everyone. It's so very difficult.
Being a Hindu, coming from India,
It doesn't matter.
understanding religion, understanding concepts that go beyond what you learn is what she taught me.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
And that's what you know
That's what I know
from her.
from her, Yes, I think it's also about practices and there are many things.
But try to find out what is the best thing in one's life, the most precious thing.
Friendship,
What is that?
supporting each other, probably at your
So is there other or each other or I?
each other, others.
What you take for other, what is that? The truth, the absolute truth of that which you take for other or each other.
I didn't get.
Is there Paina here?
Probably.
Yes. So there is, you have doubt, but actually I would say Paina is here. But Ajarn is asking, what is it that is experienced that conditions that idea that Paina is here? What do you take for Paina? Like, for example, there's seeing and thinking.
Yeah.
And so after seeing the shape and form, thinking about the shape and form, then only there's the idea of Paina. Without that seeing, there wouldn't be the idea of Paina.
No, I think there's beyond that. There's also the idea of understanding things and how do you understand it. I think
So you're talking about memory too.
yes, absolutely. There's a lot of memory.
Memory, and that's
Knowledge? There's a lot
Yes,
of
we could
exchange of knowledge, probably.
Yes, okay. So we can say that memory is a type of knowledge, a type of remembering, which is knowing, and that's real.
Yes.
And then what Kunsakin was talking about, then there is the seeing of what we remember, which is the coming together of many different reality.
Remembering of what is seen. Seeing of what is remembered.
Remembering of what is seen, yeah. And so there we get this idea of Paina. Yeah. Paina is a concept, that's what perhaps we're trying to say here. It's an idea.
So there are realities, of course. Paina is not an,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So there are different realities being experienced. When you look there, you see what conditions the thought, and when you look this here, there's a thought that conditions the idea of Paina.
Yes.
So there are different realities. The shirt Anne is wearing is not the same as what Paina is wearing. So different colors are being experienced,
Absolutely.
right? Different visible object, and the thinking that follows those experiences are different.
Yeah.
So we are. What Ajarn is asking you is that without the seeing, there wouldn't be the idea, right?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
But there is seeing, and there is what's seen. So Ajarn is asking, what is it that
Okay.
conditions that idea of Paina? There's seeing, right? There's thinking,
Yes.
right? So this is what we are
Okay.
pointing to.
It's not Paina. What is it?
Oh my God.
How do you experience anything?
Mm.
It's there now. See, very hard to know the truth, but it's there now.
Yeah.
What is it?
I got.
I mean, it's easy because that's what happens to everyone. That what happened to me for years. We overthink. The question is really very simple. If you ask a kid what's there now, he's saying there's hearing or there's seeing, there's
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I think Ajarn was saying that if we take away the name Paina,
Yeah.
what is
What
left?
is that?
What is left?
Yes.
What do you experience that later on you come to think as Paina and not as Anne?
How do I put it in words? I think for me it's more of an experience, kind of, and deep connections, because you identify, you connect to your own understanding of how probably in her interpretations are. Now I'm putting the body to it, kind of. So, might be the soul or certain patterns. I don't know.
It's so natural. It's seen. It's real because it can be seen. Whenever there is seeing, it's there to be seen. That's all. No one there at all. Right or wrong.
Yeah, right.
Without thinking, no idea at all about this and that and anything. But it is seen whenever there is seeing. So it does not belong to anyone at all. It's a reality. If it doesn't arise at all, can it be seen? So it has to arise. Who make it arise?
Probably. Certain experiences
Who make it
with the person.
whatever?
Okay. Have to say something?
Ajarn is asking who makes the seeing arise?
Yeah.
Everything.
Everything that is experienced.
I guess the question could be, can anyone make it arise? Anything make it arise?
No.
And that is Dhamma, a reality, not under anyone's control, and it cannot be taken for anything permanent at all. But it looks like permanent. So what's right and what's wrong? Not permanent is right. Taking it as permanent thing is wrong. So usually people have wrong understanding of whatever experienced.
Just now, it seems you had a moment of understanding that nobody made seeing arise, right? You understood that it happened. So, can you think of anything at all that is not like this? Would you say it's the same with hearing, thinking, tasting, smelling, touching?
I think thinking, yes.
Nobody makes it arise.
Only few people to make it.
Make it arise. Can you give an example of what that might be, making thinking arise? Like right now you're thinking, did you make it arise?
Partially, I think.
Like what? Square? I mean, right now you're thinking. I mean, what is it? You hear a word and you're
Yeah.
thinking about what's the word you've heard.
Yes, I do.
Did you decide to think about the word? Did you have to make a decision to think, or it just happens?
I think I'm trying to.
It just happens.
Yes, it just happens.
That's
That is
right.
true. Just happens. It just happens within.
That's
certain
with
contexts.
all experiences.
Yeah.
I think that's what the meaning of conditioned realities and no self is. That's just the way. That's the way everything is from birth to death.
Yes.
They arise, but because we are not told, we've never heard of this kind of thing, we get the impression that we are the one who decide to see,
Yes.
to think, right? That's natural.
Yeah.
But that's a misconception, misunderstanding. Because if you reflect after you've heard, you can see that's not how it is. So we need the Buddha's teachings to know that this is actually how it is. Otherwise we are lost. Otherwise we go away thinking our life from birth to death, thinking that there's a self here and there's people out there, rather than in reality there being only moments of seeing, hearing, thinking, etc.
Is it better to be I or not to be I?
Not to be I.
So actually there's no one at all. There are different realities.
Yes.
Yeah. Can there be the experience of the arising and falling away of whatever arises now?
Yes. Sometimes.
Now,
No. No.
that is meant by parami. Parami. See, in order to experience the truth as it is, not by trying with the idea of self, I can do, that's wrong, but from having heard word and word and word and understand each word as it is, as not self at all. It's more confidence on no one at all, only different realities conditioned by its proper conditions. That's all in one's life, to be born and to die. And after born, there must be seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, whatever arises in a day, from day to day. No one at all. Whereas yesterday, can you find it? The moment of seeing yesterday and that which is seen yesterday, gone completely, never to return.
Yes.
What about last life?
There might be some so I've had this very bizarre experience. I'd gone to a place in near Hubli, and that was the first time I went there. But for some reason, I knew exactly where the tank was. There was a central tank which gave water to the entire. It was a little town, and I knew where it was, but I'd never gone to that place. I'd never seen the maps. So when I talked to my mother, she said, probably in your last birth, you were here. Because I also told her there are 7 steps, and she counted. There were 7 steps. It was a square, and I said, there's only one lotus in that tank. And she asked the caretaker, and he said, yes, there used to be one, now there's no lotus anymore.
That moment is gone.
That moment is gone.
Okay. So what about now, this moment? What can be directly experienced? That which is gone and that which now appearing.
It becomes memories, right?
Memory arises with each moment of citta, but memory is not anyone at all. No one can force it to remember such and such thing. What arises by conditions.
I mean, I think you'll agree that certain things you experienced yesterday or just this morning, you may not even remember,
Yes.
right? But of course, as Ajarn says, memory is there with each moment of experience and it marks. Now, how anything is recalled at any moment is by conditions, different conditions. At one moment you try to think what you did yesterday, you cannot. Another moment something might trigger that memory and you'll remember. So what we understand here that the matter of previous lives is like yesterday you are left with memory, previous life you remember or not, but we know that what's gone is gone completely. So there were realities yesterday, at least in this life you can consider there were realities, and today there are realities that arising and gone completely. It is this kind of understanding that is what is required, that leads you to have any understanding of past lives or future lives. It's not just memory, because what you remember can be right, can be wrong, and if it's not understanding, then it's meaningless, right? So if you remember being there, somebody told you, oh, in your last life you were there, it is meaningless because there's no understanding involved. It's like remembering yesterday, right? So that's not important. But what's important, when Ajarn asked, is there previous life, what about previous lives? The question is based on whether there's understanding of how these experiences rise and fall away, one continuing from the past to the present to the future. So I think that's what is important, and the only way to understand is to understand what appears now, because you cannot understand what's already gone, you cannot understand what's
In future.
yeah.
So is it true that actually there's no one, no person, no thing, no being? There are only the realities, different ones, arising, falling away, never to return, each moment.
That is true.
So you can be this personality only in this life,
Yes.
different from last life and future life. So what about this life? To have more understanding of the truth is the best thing in one's life. It can be accumulated and conditioned the moments of understanding better and better later. Not clinging and clinging again to wealth or whatever in one's life. Do you know what will happen tomorrow? What about next moment? See, unknown. Can it be death?
Probably.
Yes, anything can arise. So make the best of this life. And the best is understanding the truth.
So, ask you again, what's most valuable? You were saying friendship earlier. What do you think now? I mean, what if you realize that what you took for friendship is actually attachment,
Yes, it is.
right? So better know the truth, no?
I know the truth.
Could say better to understand attachment. It's there for all of us. We spoke earlier of one's nature. And my understanding of one's nature is the accumulations. Some people are more generous than others, more kind. Some of us are quick to anger, and some of us aren't. But that's all conditions and accumulations that over which there is no control. So what I'm asking is that thinking about one's nature correct thinking?
Are you referring to what we talked earlier about one's nature?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ajarn
No, I think
mentioned it, Sundara mentioned it.
Ajarn, I think, was talking about when understanding becomes it's natural.
Okay.
Yeah. Not like you try to do this, try to do that, and it's...
No. You can't try to do this
Yes,
and try to do that.
yes.
That would not be... Understanding would be natural. It would
Yeah.
arise again because of
So
conditions.
like everything...
And one's accumulations.
Like with everything, if there's kusla to develop, it has to be natural.
Yes,
And if a kusla arises, it's because it's natural.
that's right. You've said it better than I did, but
Yeah.
that's where I was going with it.
Mm.
You can't control any of it, and you can't know when and what will arise.
Right.
If it arises, it's natural because of conditions and one's accumulations.
Mm. And the understanding of all this has to go naturally like this.
Yes, that's right.
So, Swati, so did you hear anything different today as compared to anything you've heard before? Like what? I appreciate that from what it sounds, I appreciate that Painan never tried to push you to study the Dhamma. No, because she understands that it's not how it works. And even the Buddha could not force anyone. There was a disciple who was listening to him and then suddenly decided to go away to do his whatever he had to do. And the Buddha commented that had he stayed a little longer, he would have become enlightened. But he knew that, but he didn't try to make him stay longer. So I think Paina also understands that to the level that she can, that the Dhamma is very deep. It's not something that we can convince other people by logic. If you've not accumulated in the past the understanding, then it's impossible. So that's why I'm asking, how do you like it? And because I want to...
I think I find things similar because I come from a family where my father used to have discussions through various missions. He was a part of Chinmayananji and he was a part of Ramakrishna mission. So I would not be a part of the discussion, but yes, we would hear it from what they were discussing. So there are similarities. I have never been a part of a discussion myself up until now, so it will take me some time to really.
Did we have?
Did you want to say or ask anything? I think you said you'd listened in Thai before? Yes, this is in English. Are you getting it? Is it sounding similar? You're picking it up?
What is happen? What is happen now?
Can you answer that?
Yeah.
Do you want to answer that?
Maybe someone to ask to answer my question.
Okay. What is happening? What is happening now?
Kun Chanun.
I don't know what is happening now. I've got a lot of what would I say? Like not understanding. And yeah.
But when you say don't know, is that not something that's happening?
No, and there must be something that is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah. And actually, I would like to share like my experience about like coming to learn Dhamma. Actually, I was like just ordinary boy before. I mean, I never to learn anything like philosophy or anything, and I studied science and I loved it. But it's like my mother started to turn on the radio and started to listen to Thanajan's teaching, and well, she tried to turn the radio on every moment I like came home and just doing my stuffs, and well, it took 1 year. Then I started to, wow, this is what I haven't heard of before, and it is very interesting, and it is gonna be very helpful for my future, and I believe that. So that's why I started to learn Dhamma. Actually, I have been, I mean, I was in a Thai school, and also they taught me like some, how can I say, conventional, I mean, what they're thinking about Buddhism in their beliefs. So I never believed that, because there are a lot of like, how can I say, nonsense things in that. And
Because you were a science person.
yes, because I need how can I say, something that very rational, and being able to understand the logic and anything. And well, after I heard that radio program, and I thought that was some of the parami that I have accumulated before in my samsaravata. This is what, I think.
Is there anything you'd like to talk about?
Anything? Well, I think right at the moment I want to be a good listener, because I still don't understand much about Dhamma, because I just started learning, and well, there are a lot of terms in English that I haven't really, how can I say, understand the precision of it. So, well, is there anybody would like to discuss with me or anything? I would be happy to.
Could you think of a term?
For example, parami, I still don't understand that. Well, it's about Hollywood as well, but it's just, well, what can I say? Yeah, I know that I don't understand that.
Did your Thai school, teach you to do meditation?
Yes, exactly, and I never do that because and actually I got like really, I mean many of my teachers got really angry that I didn't do that because I always, and then it ended up like I need to sit under the sun for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes almost every morning, or like have to sit in front of a lot of students there. Well, then there it's like a Thai school, you know, right? There must be something like gathering together to sing Thai national anthem every morning, and I really hated that. And
So you
yeah.
sing the
No, I sang, but I mean, before or after, there must be always some like, yeah, and I hated that. So it's always end up like, actually, I'm not a good boy.
Did they put you out in the sun because you were not a good boy?
Yeah,
Oh,
this is how.
this was the punishment.
Yeah, it's a kind of.
This is making an
punishment.
example of
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I think that made a lot of Thai students, like, how can I say, it's a kind of discouragement Thai students to be true to themselves, like me. Yeah. This is, well, one of my experience, and I thought, oh, that was really lucky of me that I didn't even wanted to try that because that's nonsense for me. Yeah. What is precious for me is understanding. Even in science, even in anything, the skills, or in life. This is what I believe. Yes. Do you have any comments for or anything?
But now, are you scientist?
Well, kind of.
Okay. But if you're scientist, now how seeings happen in scientist thinking?
I think it comes for all the. I'm sorry. It comes from all visualization from the brains, and the next of your questions will be, what is the brain? And yeah, this is what I think usually scientists want to get an answer from that, and it will be endless because there will be because it's all about name and idea. And yeah, it's not really a reality on that. Well, for scientists, what I understand is that, well, if there's something comes to be, I mean, is understandable from seeing it, there's high possibility for them to how can I say, conform. I don't know. To like to say yes or no.
No,
Them.
but science is just a
Yeah.
way of thinking about
Yes.
concepts, different concepts. So it's you cannot expect them to
Yes.
even be interested in understanding seeing,
Mm.
because they only know concepts.
Mm.
So it's only in the Buddha's teachings can there be any understanding of reality. And but I understand when you were asked if about difference between science and you said you're sort of a scientist. So I can appreciate that you can be interested in science and know that science is not the path to wisdom,
Yes.
and
Yes.
still work
Yeah, it's still
Right.
work, and it's a
as
kind of
as a
wisdom
scientist.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's helpful for, well, a lot of people government can,
yeah, I mean, without science, there's no medicine, there's no.
and there's no some kind of
Yeah.
like microphone.
Yeah, yeah. So you can continue to work as a scientist, but
Yes.
knowing that it's just a way of thinking,
Yeah.
it's not the understanding reality.
Yeah,
I
because
think.
At the end of the day, it's just to find a possibility or probability of truth, but it's not itself truth. It's
It just
kind
has
of
an idea, and it
Yeah.
claims to
Yeah,
to
claims,
to
yeah.
to be moving towards the truth, but no, it
which
doesn't.
is good,
It
but
cannot,
not the best.
It cannot. It just goes a different direction altogether.
Okay.
It
Yes.
cannot.
I was going to say, it cannot know the ultimate truth, ultimate realities. There's unawareness that anything like that would even exist.
It can only remain as being conceptually true, and that's one of the big differences between the Buddha Dhamma and what we call other kinds of things. It's ideas that are thought about, what the Buddha taught about, truths that are ultimately true, in terms of when we call those, because you're asking about these different ideas before about what are some of these words. And the understanding is always the important thing. You know, sometimes there are sort of English equivalents of those words, but if we don't understand what they relate to, so understanding largely in part is about considering very carefully what we hear and learning to differentiate between the conceptual world, which we all do naturally, everybody does it all the time, and understanding the reality which appears, which is not a concept, which is a truth, like seeing now, which is a reality which appears. It's dependent upon, you know, having the rupa, or the eyes, if you like, and it has to be the visual object. So that these are some of the, in a way, the concepts, in a way, that enable understanding to grow, to be able to think carefully. And that's really important, to be able to differentiate between what is real and what is just a concept. Yeah. And that's what a lot of what we call pariyatti is about, learning to correctly consider what is real, as opposed to what's just what anybody can think about. Yeah.
You were asking Swati something. You wanted to ask me? Yeah.
You can start with the microphone. Yeah, you go first.
Hot seat. Hot seat.
Sorry, what's your name? Swati. Swati, okay. What are you hearing now?
What am I hearing now?
Yeah.
Within the context of?
Dhamma. What are you hearing? That's the microphone.
What is heard? What
What
is
is
heard?
heard?
What is heard?
The path of understanding?
Oh, this here's the path of understanding.
No. Sometimes, yes, it does. I think the meaning of understanding is some of the discussions are about. So when you say understanding, is it the term understanding or how you perceive, or?
I mean, excuse me, what's your name? Keo. Kun Keo. What Kun Keo was actually asking you was actually pointing to the fact whether there is any understanding or not, or even wrong understandings. She asked a simple question: what are you hearing now? And your answer will reflect whether there is understanding, correct understanding of that experience or not. as Sundara tried to help, and he hinted that rather than put it in that way, the question can be asked: what is heard now, or what is hearing? What hearing hears? In this room, outside this room, in the cinema hall, in the concert hall, anywhere, what does hearing hear?
Can you hear smells? So
There is hearing right now. See, hearing, hear. Hear what? Hear what is heard, what it hears. Just now.
Just now.
Yeah.
You can use a scientific concept to label that what is being experienced. Science also uses the same word.
Give me some time.
Are you hearing the sound? Are you hearing Sukin's voice or Tanajan's voice? Or are you hearing sound and then thinking?
I think I am hearing concepts more than. I think it's because of the way you
Hearing sounds
hearing
and
sounds,
thinking of
concepts.
I mean, normally you ask a person who's not heard the Buddha's teachings, what do you hear? They'll say, I heard the word,
The words.
or the sound of a bell, or the sound of the violin, or something like that, right? But what Anne is now trying to differentiate is that the idea of words and violin, or etc., that's an idea. That's not what is heard. The idea comes from what's heard. So the question is, what does the hearing, which is one kind of experience, like seeing is one kind of experience, smelling is one kind of experience, what does hearing hear, or seeing see, or smelling smells? So one question again, what does hearing hear? Does it
Sounds
hear
of certain words? Some words?
when it's a motorcycle, it's also words.
Yes.
So what is it?
The answer is too easy.
It's too easy.
You're trying to make
Make
it
it
hard.
hard.
It's very easy. Yeah, think short and sweet.
Just now when you had this, you got this white paper cup just now? You were given? You got only this. If you had this, you know that this, it's two different drinks. This is plain water and this is coconut water. So if I asked you what is tasted, would you say coconut water? Or what?
If I'm giving two separate?
Yeah, or anything right now. If you had a drink and you were asked what is tasted, or smell it, smell this. What is smelled?
Orange?
Okay, you think it's orange, right? If you
Yeah.
closed your eyes and someone gave you to smell? You know immediately because you smelt it, right?
Yeah.
And you remembered. So would it be orange? What if I give it to someone who's never smelled orange or seen orange? There would still be smell,
Yes.
right? So what for him? What is his experience at that time? Just smell. Smell of smell.
Yeah.
No labels.
No.
I mean, of course, he'll think hard and he'll have a lot of thoughts.
But if he doesn't know what it is,
He will still
how
think. He will still think. He will still think
he'll
because
associate to certain.
something else, right? But you can appreciate that there are two different experiences:
Yes.
the smelling and the thinking.
Yes.
So the smell does not smell oranges. Smells what? Smelling smells what?
Just
Smell. Yeah, right. So hearing hears
Hear.
what?
Hearing.
Hearing hears what?
Sound.
Sound.
By the way, there is a little bottle of essential oil in my house and it always smells orange. And it never be an orange because it's just a smell. So
But the
there's...
sound can be so many things,
Well-
right?
Right, but can it be in that one moment anything in particular or just sound?
It can be sound, but it can be something.
Can you hear a motorcycle?
No.
No. The sound of a motorcycle.
No, I think it also is language, right? The sound becomes a language, so.
Becomes, I think,
Becomes.
is the word there.
Yes.
It's a sound.
sound.
It's a sound before
Yeah.
the mind
Yeah.
thinks about the motorcycle or
Yeah.
the orange, and it can think motorcycle or orange because of memory.
Yes.
But it's a sound
Sound.
before anything. Hearing hears sounds, smelling smells. Smells, sense.
So seeing, see what?
You know, it's a little harder with seeing. Why? Because it doesn't have a ready word as sound or taste or smell. But you can answer based on the experience. I'll give you a hint. Hearing hears that which is heard. What does seeing see?
Sight.
That which is seen, right? But we have a word here called, we use visible object to make it easy. To differentiate between the seeing itself and what's seen. Because the seeing is a mental reality, is an experience, and what's seen, visible object, is not just the object, it's another reality. It's a material reality. A material reality which does not experience anything. There are two basic realities, one is mental and one is material. So visible object is just visible object, it does not experience anything, it's a materiality.
So what are you?
For others, probably a material reality, but for myself, no. I could be.
Are you saying that what you take for Paina is just visible object
No.
and sound, and for you there's the experience, because right, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
You cannot experience her mind,
No.
but what you can see is visible object,
Yes.
right? So you're on the right path. I'm wrong.
It's that.
I'm helping you.
But please answer more. What are you? What is taken for I? Now.
I'm still the material object. But no, I'm.
No, because okay, I'll give you a hint. Similar to a pioneer is pioneer based on what's seen. Certain experiences that you take for self also are taken for you, who you are. So I think that's your question, Ajarn.
What else? Everyday life.
In everyday life,
It's daily life. All this is happening in daily life. We don't just take feeling for my feeling. We don't just take seeing for my seeing, but we take everything, and not only mental but physical experience, physical phenomena also. So when you touch your skin, even the softness is taken for my body, right?
So what are you?
I try to be a good person. I think I'm still trying to discover myself, because
Yes.
there are times when I know I'm supposed to be in certain way, but I probably am not
Just-
within that zone.
Everyday life.
Yeah. Everyday life.
Now.
Not now. Now I am myself.
Now is, yeah, but what is yourself?
I think yes, one aspect is to discover, but understanding of my nature.
Is understanding you. Is the understanding you.
Yes.
It arises. It's conditioned. It
It
falls
is
away.
It is conditioned.
It falls away, never to return.
Yes. it
So,
is.
is that you?
No.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah. Not anything be you or
Yeah.
belong to you at all.
Yes.
There are different realities.
Yes.
Is it better to know this, that actually there's no one at all?
Yes, it is.
Better than I all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Be-
Used to-
why?
I think when you put I in everything, personally, then you don't grow. So,
And what is this you who needs to grow? And what is growth? Growth towards what? Growth to be what?
towards knowing your own self.
But today's discussion was meant to point to the fact that there is no you.
No, there is no you. Yes, that is true. No, but there will be certain areas where there is you, right?
There will be, and that's because of the wrong understanding. It's still being there. And the point of understanding the Dhamma is to see the wrongness of wrong understanding. And to correct your understanding towards the better understanding of what the true nature of each
Yeah.
reality through the five senses and the mind are.
Our conventional thinking is very, very different from what the Buddha taught about the
Yeah.
realities of life, the realities of living, the realities arising and falling away every moment. So it is very difficult to stop thinking in terms of, well, to stop continually thinking of one as being a consistent being. And that's the view.
So when you say consistent being, putting a body in it, or
Oh,
writing a
we
thought or
do
an
that. We
idea.
put our
Yeah.
bodies into it,
Yeah.
and we put ourselves in there as living and being able to control our lives
Yeah.
and control other people sometimes and control our emotions. But in reality, in realities, that can't be done. But so our conventional thinking about ourselves is very, very different from the ultimate, from the realities taught by the Buddha. And when we talk about understanding, we talk about understanding of realities now, all the time, arising and falling away. And that's a long path to understand that, but intellectually understanding it is the beginning of it. So that's why the discussions and the questioning are important for those with the conditions and accumulations to be interested.
I mean, Ajarn knows that understanding has to develop, and each person has to understand. She doesn't want to just give you answers that you'll just remember and be able to repeat. That's why she questions, because she likes each person to consider for himself or herself, because that's, in the end, that's the only thing of value. Otherwise, it's useless, right? So don't mind being in the spotlight.
not at all.
And also, it helps us all, because we are all beginners. We're not here after 20, 30 years. We're advanced. We're just beginners too, and we need to hear the same thing over and over again. So I like questions to beginners, because it's a good reminder that we are beginners too.
Is there your next life?
Probably.
Is there you now?
Yeah, to some extent.
The same answer, probably, or what? Is there you now? What is you? If there is you, what is it? Which you take for I. Easy? How simple? Now, always now. Is there you now?
Yes.
What is you now?
This experience.
This moment,
This
just
moment,
this one,
yeah.
one moment only. What is that which is you, or you take for you? What is that? Now. Is that you now? Kun Chanon, do you understand this? Yeah?
For my understanding, there's no you, even now or anytime, ever. But because of the wrong understanding that we accumulated for, I don't know for how long, but must be very, very long. There will still be you because of the wrong understanding. Yes, and the wrong understanding itself is real. You have wrong in understanding is not. It's just a concept, but the wrong understanding itself exists.
Just like wisdom exists, when it arises, it's there, shows that it's a reality, it exists. So when wrong, because at the moment of seeing, there's no wrong understanding. At the moment which follows, there can be wrong understanding. So it's the arising of this another reality, which we call wrong understanding, that gives you that wrong perception that there is me or them. So wrong understanding itself is just another reality.
Is there anything in a dream?
Why
Really?
is the answer no? Can be heard. What do you mean? We're not trying to get
No,
the
no,
correct
I
answer.
understand.
We're not trying to get the correct answer. We're
No,
just
no,
trying to
no,
get
I
your
know.
answer.
I know it's not right or wrong answers, but yeah.
Is there thinking in a dream?
Yes, sometimes. But it's very contextual. Those thinkings become very contextual.
I think
Gotta get
Ajarn
us
was
thinking.
asking whether there's anything in the dream, because in a dream we usually take that there's so many things, right?
Yeah.
But in fact, are the people in the dreams there? The situation there?
Sometimes
That sometimes they are?
Yeah.
You mean sometimes the things you're dreaming, are they there? Where are they?
in the mind. In the mind.
So that's what you mean. When something is there, you mean it's there in the mind. Thoughts are in the mind. So, but okay, Ajarn.
Is this not a dream?
Then it's not a dream, yes.
It
Is
is.
this not a thing?
Now.
Now.
Now, everything now.
No.
Why not?
Why not?
Because I feel the physical presence of.
You are dreaming. When you are dreaming, I am dreaming.
No.
No? Who dreams?
Oh yeah, when I'm dreaming, yes.
Like now. So it's now. I dream.
You don't sleep
Yes,
now.
yes. It's not a dream. Not a dream.
What's the difference?
I think because there is physical presence, right? In dreams, it's.
Are you saying that the difference is like right now there is seeing, there is hearing,
There's hearing.
and in dreams is seeing and hearing is not there, right?
Yeah.
So is there? So when the question was initially asked, is there anything in the dream? Because you believe there was you seeing something and hearing something, but in fact,
There's no
not there. There's nothing there, right? And right now, when it's not seeing, and there's the idea of seeing paina, is there not a dream?
Yes. No.
Seeing is one, and seeing
seeing.
paina. Seeing paina. Right now, there's the impression of seeing paina, right?
Okay.
Is that different from the paina in the dream?
No, there's no difference.
There's no difference.
Ajarn, I've got a question here from Vincent. He asked me to ask you these questions. Oh,
because she's still.
Is that which you see now, is that which you seen just a moment ago now,
No, it's not that.
just like a dream?
Just like a dream, yes.
Uh-huh.
Because the moment has passed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
The difference is
The-
that in a dream there's no actual seeing.
Seeing, yes,
But there's thinking.
yes.
So life is not different from a dream, the whole life,
Yes.
because each moment's gone,
It's different.
never to return.
Yes.
So, the meaning of dream in this context is that nothing stays. Everything rises and falls away. Yeah.
And what is not a dream?
Tangible things, probably.
The moment,
Material,
yeah,
the
the moment
tangible.
of understanding
Understanding, yes.
reality as not self.
Yeah.
So even now, where there's no understanding, reality is not self, is a dream, because it's not understanding reality.
And when there is understanding, it's just like moment of waking.
Awakening.
Yeah,
Kind of
awaken. Yeah, to know what
To
is true.
know, to understand.
Even I'm sitting here now, and if I think of some other things for a while, it's just like a dream. It's like, because it's all about thinking with attachment, with anything doesn't exist at the moment. So I think it should be the same thing with dreaming. This is what I think.
Is that right?
No. Can you repeat?
Oh. So again. So even I am sitting
Yeah,
now
you're dreaming
here.
of something else.
Yeah, it's like it's
Thinking of something
thinking
else.
of something else, which doesn't come from hearing, seeing, and everything. So is that the same thing with as the dreaming when at night? I mean, when you fall asleep, is that the same dreaming?
Yeah.
Is in the same direction?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is in
it's
the same direction, right? That is what.
Yeah,
you-
that's what a student who's not paying attention, teacher says he's daydreaming, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
It is.
So what is the reality of dreaming?
So thinking.
Right,
Yes.
right. Is it you?
It's reality.
Is it you who think?
Is it you who think?
Yes.
Wrong.
No.
It's wrong.
Thinking is thinking.
Thinking is thinking.
Thinking is
Yeah.
thinking.
You don't put yourself. Just thinking.
Whenever there is no understanding, it's I think,
Yeah.
which is wrong.
I mean, rather than say you don't put yourself, you begin to slowly understand that it is just what appears, not no self. There is no self. Some people think it's just a technique. There are some well-known Buddhist writers and monks actually who think that this not self is a strategy, that the Buddha devised this idea just so that you can not let the self come into everything, but it's not. It is the nature of realities. It's like the idea of things being impersonal. So seeing is not self, it's not me, it's just a phenomena. It arises by conditions. Without visible object contacting the eye, they can't be seen. If a blind person can't make himself see, because there's no eye, right?
So is it right for me to say that for the most time of the day we are in the dream? We are just in the dream.
The whole life.
For whole life.
Whole life is
Yeah.
true.
See, just like the dream, everything is gone completely, never to return.
Yeah.
So it's like momentarily death all the time. Why do we say that momentarily?
Why do we say momentarily?
Ajarn said it's like momentary death. So why the word momentary?
Because it moves on.
It is just one after another.
changes.
Because there's something arise after immediately, okay, but not finished this life yet, until the, in other words, sammutti, marana, conventional death, only conventional, because after death there's life again.
So the word conventional death, this is momentary death, which is each experience, and then the last moment of this life, what we take normally as death, is just conventional death, but it's just showing that it's the end of life as this person.
And then you move on to
There's no you who moves on. There's another
the
moment of consciousness, which is rebirth. So, but the death, the last moment of this life is conventional death.
What about Vincent's question?
Oh, Vincent's questions.
He mentions Ajarn in the Sati Sutta, while the Buddha spoke about sampajanya, why was vitakka mentioned together with sanya and vedana? Can it be known? Vince said to me that he won't be listening, so he must be afterwards listening, so it must be known, can be known.
Or thought about.
Or considered, yes, that's what, I mean, it seems an interesting question, I'll say that way, but it must be considered, it must be able to be considered. Can we say that, Ajarn? So there must be vitakka.
Do you know, does anyone know vitakka?
No, that's a good question too. No, Ajarn.
So Buddha taught us how many citta vitakka arises with.
Sorry, Ajarn.
How many cittas with vitakka arising?
Everyone except the Dvaipanchvijnana.
So who knows?
Yeah. It depends on your level of wisdom, Ajarn, I imagine.
Do you know exactly that which is vitakka?
Difficult, Ajarn. Yeah. He also asked the question, could Ajarn please talk about Miccha Sankappa Gochara, Samma Sankappa Gochara, and Upanasya Gochara? So firstly, could you talk a little bit, Ajarn, about Miccha Sankappa?
Arises any akusala citta.
So, even the word miccha doesn't have to refer to wrong understanding. It can be just ignorance.
Wrong path, actually.
So miccha sankappa has to be with wrong understanding.
At level of wrong path.
At the level of wrong path. Like thinking to sit and concentrate like that.
Wrong practice.
Well, and that answers really what the opposite of that is, but perhaps, Ajarn, would you speak a little bit for Vincent on Upanasya Gochara?
What is Gochara?
Gochara is object, essentially.
So what is that?
So what appears, we can say ultimately.
And he asks about what?
Upanasya Gochara.
Okay. When you see something or experience something more than the other, so very often it becomes upanisya. Depend on that, for that to arise, it depends on what the accumulation is.
So it will depend on the person's understanding, that level of understanding.
It means that that aroma becomes so strong that it can condition more and more.
Yeah.
that same kojra.
Yeah.
For example, now, the object now is not the object of satipatthana yet. So it can not yet be the upanisya kojra. But
So-
other object is.
So, Ajarn, your Upanishad Gochara is only with reference to understanding,
The word kojra means object.
object of understanding.
Object, any.
So,
thing.
Upanishad Gochara can be anything. Like right
When we
now,
talk about the object kojra of the Buddha, we don't mean other thing rather than the satipatthana.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, Vince, I hope I think that seems very clear, and I know you can listen to it again if you like. And if you have other questions, please do ask. That's helpful for us all always.
Usually we talk about the three kinds of kojra. The first one is upanisya kojra, the habitual object, usually the object of understanding. Another one is araka kojra, and then the other one is upanipanda kojra. So used to understand that, so it can become object at any moment by conditions.
Can you say some more about Araka Kojara?
Okay. When it's the object which brings about understanding, whenever there is good deeds, good speech, wholesome moments, because of that protects one from having such deeds,
No, protect from what?
ill deeds,
From Akusala deeds.
akusala moment. So one does not have that yet if one just heard about the teachings. Not enough.
I mean, Upanishad has to be
Different.
more enough to be than Araka.
Mhm. And more further than that is the Upanibanda,
Upanibanda.
doesn't move away from this moment
Okay.
as object of understanding.
And all of this starts at the level of Satipatthana. It's referring to Satipatthana, Upanisaya Kojara.
Because it cannot arise at will.
No.
It depends on whether it's now at level of Panisya Kojara or Araka Kojara, prevent from ill deeds, akusala moment, until it can be that which Taiwan or think about that, yes, more than other objects. Like now, people don't understand the characteristic of hardness as not self. They just take it for I or something. But when there is understanding enough, it is the moment of understanding it as satipatthana, upanipanda, kojara. Before it can be that level, it has to be upanisya and araka and then
So
upanipanda.
that's before the level of Satipatthana then.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So
Yeah.
before Upanishad Gochara, we have to hear a lot. There has to be a lot of pariyati understanding.
And that highest level, literally, as Ajarn was mentioning, that Araka Gochara is like it becomes a strong protection.
Yes. yeah.
And then Upanibanda literally means you are bound to the object.
Right. Right.
It becomes very powerful.
Sorry, can I ask like some samples? For example, I try not to kill a mosquito. It's not any of the
Not at
Kojara
all.
because it's not the understanding. It's
Mhm.
just I myself don't want to kill it or something.
Or try.
Or
I try.
Okay. Yeah, just maybe for myself.
Or even if it's kusala or sila at ordinary level, not necessarily followed by myself, if the understanding is not developed enough, it cannot be said to be gochara.
Just like now, is it the object of sati? If not yet, it's not upanishya gochara for sati, but it is other object of akusala. The same object can be object of right understanding or wrong understanding.
I just wanted to be sure, because there can be sila, and then there can be intellectual understanding that sila is not self, but even then it's not gochara yet. It's not upanishad.
It depends on right understanding, degree of understanding.
So, aren't we saying that the degree has to be direct understanding to be upanishad gochara?
Can it be alternated?
Means with direct and intellectual.
Yeah. Or it can be akusala or whatever by conditions.
When it's akusala, then it's not. Now I'm trying to say, if there's intellectual understanding, is that gochara? Not taking the sila for self, but at the level of intellectual understanding?
I don't think we don't have to find out, but understand that moment as it is.
But it's important anyway. I mean, even intellectual understanding is important.
Without understanding that this can be the object of sati and panya, which is satipatthana, can
then
it be?
Cannot be.
And now we're talking much about it. Does it now be the object of satipatthana?
It is not. If it is not, then it's not gochara.
It's not the upanishya gochara to
Upanishad gochara,
understand
right.
the object as
Right.
it is.
So right now we only understand intellectually, but
Until it's there.
okay.
So we know that it's by upanishya gochara.
I'm still not clear because I'm hearing it both ways. The level, when you say it's there, because at this point it's upanishya gochara, that is not yet at the level of satipatthana?
It does mean that whenever it's there, it can condition satipatthana each moment or all
Right.
moments.
It can condition it.
But
Okay,
how
I see.
can it arise? Because of the upanishya gochara. Enough to condition moment of satipatthana.
Okay. I see. Because it needs to be upanishya gochara for satipatthana. to
Otherwise,
arise.
then no
Yeah.
conditions for satipatthana.
That word upanishad actually means a decisive support.
Yes, yes.
That object is a decisive support for the development of satipatthana.
Right.
Actually, the word gochara literally means where a cow goes. You know,
Right.
it's the field, so to speak. But we use the word object.
Right.
So one can understand by oneself whether it is upanishya gochara yet or araka enough and upanipanda to understand.
But I think we can at least appreciate that the level of understanding at the level of pariyati is weak compared to patipati. Right.
And the understanding of the object is now developing from moment to moment of understanding to be upanishya gochara.
When I hear and think of the word upanishya, I also think of upanishya pachaya. And is that's in some ways similar to upanishya gochara? Same
And
thing.
it is pakatupanishya.
Bhakatupanishya,
Yeah.
right.
Now,
Bhakatu-
upanishad pachaya can refer to anything.
Yes, that's what I
It can be
thought.
akusla, anything.
Right, but upanishya gochara,
Is only in
Only
relation to
akusala.
panya.
only relation into panya, only, okay.
So,
But
this is the sorry.
But I was going to say, so Bhakatupanishya Pachaya is still related to
Upanishad.
Upanishya
Yeah,
Upanisya.
everything.
Yeah.
Right now, it's Pakatu Panisya Pachaya for ignorance
Yes.
Right.
and
It's a decisive
attachment.
support
Right.
for ignorance.
Yes. Oh, mostly ignorance. Then.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
And the other one's a decisive support
Yes.
for kusala.
Okay.
And when we
I
use
see.
the word Upanisya Kochara, the meaning
It's
different from just Upanisya,
Yeah.
because it's the object which is the patana for understanding to develop.
Okay. And the Pakatupanisya Pachaya,
Includes everything.
everything. And does it change from one? Are these two separate categories of conditions? Upanisya Pachaya and Pakatupanisya Pachaya? Or are those the same?
Think about Nisya, the meaning of it, and then why there is Upanisya, and then we can understand the Pakatupanisya or the Upanisya Kochara. If there is the understanding of Nisya and Upa, it doesn't change.
Okay, then I need some help with the understanding of Nisaya.
Yes, anything can be when it's more experienced than the other.
Repeatedly.
Repeatedly. Okay,
Habitual.
got it. Thank you.
So we can talk about any pachya when there is the understanding, even not all, but some, with understanding, like what is Upanisya now, Upanisya pachya. See, it can be known.
Habitual, repeatedly.
So, Ajarn, all dhammas are actually Pakatu Panisya
Right,
Pachaya. All.
right.
All.
From
After
moment to
adverting
moment.
consciousness, there must be the Pancha Vijnana. So that's also Pakatu Panisya
That
Pachaya.
is Anantarupanisya pachya.
But also Pakatu Panisya because that's how
We don't talk
it
about it when we understand it, everything.
everything.
But there is also another pachya.
Also another Pachaya.
Anantara
So when we talk
Pachaya.
about that, then it's more important to
Yes.
understand Anantara
Mhm.
Pachaya.
Can Nirvana be Pakatu Panisya Pachaya as well?
For whom?
Not for me. or Arahant person.
Do we have to use that word?
Maybe I'm using the wrong word.
Just learn the word, but not the actual
Actual,
reality.
yeah.
And try to find out the word all the time. What is that? It's not necessary to say about the Upanisya now. See, it's there already. But the idea of self is there. That is Upanisya Pachya. Pakatu Upanisya Pachya.
So Swati, you can see how we are all like you, beginners. We also all have a tendency to overthink. Even now, after 19, 20 years, just missing the point of Dhamma.
But we can see too, Vati, that everything is interconnected.
Yes.
Everything is interconnected. And that helps us at one level anyway, or at some level, to understand the conditionality of everything. It's not dependent upon a person. We talk about these different nasiyas or different supporting factors, if you like. Different supporting factors for kusala, different supporting factors for akusala. And it's all about those conditions that facilitate more kusala or facilitate more understanding. So everything comes back to those fundamental questions that we were talking about earlier on, which we have some very fundamental misunderstandings about a lot of the time, or like dreaming. We're dreaming all the time. That's a support for more dreaming, more ignorance. So everything is connected in that way.
So now, what's the best in one's life?
Understanding the present moment.
And that's not dreaming. Most of the time we are dreaming, as Ajahn said. And it's
Ajahn uses in Thai, Intl.Dhamma, we call it delirious thinking. Even when it comes to matters of Dhamma, we just I used the word overthink. We're thinking, having a lot of questions, but just like mad people thinking. We think we don't know better, we think, oh, we're thinking about Dhamma, but we're thinking in the wrong way most of the time. And she's the only one who always brings us back to the present moment.
not dreaming.
When it's not moment of understanding. Yeah. So there is I in a dream. All the time, yes, I dream. So in this life, it is dreaming of I.
So we can see we have a bad dream and we think, oh, you don't like it. We have a good dream, we are attached to it, and then we want to have good dreams. We don't want to have bad dreams, but the real problem is the I. Because wisdom doesn't mind.
That's a good way of putting it. Wisdom doesn't mind.
Who doesn't mind?
Wisdom. Wisdom doesn't mind what its object is or whether it's kusala or akusala. It's knowing it, understanding.
It's 4 o'clock.